जय राधा गोपीनाथ राधा गोपीनाथ श्री राधे जय प्रभु पदा जय प्रभु पदा जय प्रभु पदा जय प्रभु पदा
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto number 3, chapter number 31, titled The Movements of the Living Entities, text number 30. Bhute panchabhir arabdhe Bhute panchabhir arabdhe Dehe dehi abudo sakrit Dehe dehi abudo sakrit Aham mameti asadgraha Aham mameti asadgraha Karoti kumatirmatim Karoti kumatirmatim Bhute panchabhirarabdhe Dehe dehi abudo sakrit Aham mameti asadgraha Karoti kumatirmatim Bhute panchabhirarabdhe Dehe dehi abudo sakrit Aham mameti asadgraha Karoti kumatirmatim Bhute panchabhirarabdhe Dehe dehi abudo sakrit Aham mameti asadgraha Karoti kumatirmatim Bhute panchabhirarabdhe Bhute panchabhirarabdhe Aham mameti asadgraha Karoti kumatirmatim Mataji's Bhute panchabhirarabdhe Word for word translation, Bhute, by material elements. Panchabi, 5. Arabde, made. Dehe, in the body. Dehi, the living entity. Abuddha, ignorant. Asakrit, constantly. Aham, I. Mama, mine. Iti, thus. Asat, non-permanent things. Graha, accepting. Karoti, he does. Kumati, being foolish. Matim, thought. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Translation. By such ignorance, the living entity accepts the material body, which is made of 5 elements, as himself. With this misunderstanding, he accepts non-permanent things as his own, and increases his ignorance in the darkest region. Purport. The expansion of ignorance is explained in this verse. The first ignorance is to identify one's material body, which is made of 5 elements, as the self. And the second is to accept something as one's own, due to a bodily connection. In this way, ignorance expands. The living entity is eternal, but because of his accepting non-permanent things, misidentifying his interests, he is put into ignorance, and therefore he suffers material pangs. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Salakaya Chaksurumritam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So thank you everyone for coming to Srimad Bhagavatam class today. So I'll read the translation again. We're reading from Canto 3, Chapter 31, text number 30. Translation. By such ignorance the living entity accepts the material body, which is made of 5 elements, as himself. With this misunderstanding he accepts non-permanent things as his own, and increases his ignorance in the darkest region. So we continue on our discussion of this conversation between Lord Kapiladev and Mother Devahuti. And so far in the last couple of chapters, we've been seeing all the different ways in which a jiva or living entity suffers in this material world. So Mother Devahuti, previously a couple of chapters ago, she had asked a question to Lord Kapiladev. What was the question? Mother Devahuti, she asked that please describe in detail about the sufferings in this material world. The sufferings the jiva goes at birth, at death, during his lifespan in this world and after death. So in the purport, Prabhupada explains why Mother Devahuti, she asked this question. Because she's a pure devotee of the Lord. She has Lord Kapiladev, Supreme Personality Godhead, as a son. It's already guaranteed she's going to go back home, back to Godhead. Or she's already in Godhead. God, Supreme Personality Godhead is right in front of her. So what is the need for her to understand in details, about how someone suffers at birth, at death, how someone suffers in hell? There's no need for her to get this knowledge. So Prabhupada in his purports explains that Mother Devahuti, she doesn't ask this question for her own benefit, but she asks this question for the benefit of living entities in general. Prabhupada explains that it is the nature of a Vaishnava. One of the primary qualities of a Vaishnava is that he is para dukkha dukhi, which means he feels pain, he feels suffering when he sees the suffering of others. So Prabhupada explains this was the mood in which Mother Devahuti, she asked this question. She was saying that people in general, they engage in sense gratification, wasting the human form of life, and she is feeling compassion for them. How will these people be delivered? And for their benefit, Mother Devahuti, she asked this question. Please explain in detail about the sufferings of birth and death and after death, so that the living entities in general, when they hear your answer, they will get detachment from this material world and they will come to your lotus feet. So in that mood, Mother Devahuti, she asked this question a few chapters ago. And when Lord Kapiladev, he hears this question from Mother Devahuti, Bharata explains that Lord Kapiladev, he is very, very pleased. And he thanks his mother for asking such a wonderful question. Why is Lord Kapiladev pleased? Prabhupada explains that Krishna, he is very compassionate, he is very merciful. And Prabhupada explains that Krishna, when he sees all of his parts and parcels suffering in this material world, he feels great pain. And when a particular devotee of his embodies the same mood as Krishna, he feels very happy. So Krishna, he is the most attractive. That's why his name is Krishna. So he has unlimited wonderful qualities that attract the attention, attract the consciousness, the minds of his devotees. But it is said that of all the qualities of Krishna, there's two qualities which attract devotees' minds the most. First one is Krishna's beauty, and the second one is Krishna's mercy or compassion. Out of all of the unlimited wonderful qualities of Krishna, these two qualities of Krishna, they attract devotees' minds the most. Therefore, you'll see in different prayers by great devotees in the Bhagavatam and other Shastras, they will always either focus on glorifying Krishna's beauty, how beautiful Krishna is, or they'll focus on glorifying Krishna's mercy or compassion. So Krishna is known to be an ocean of mercy. Why is he called an ocean of mercy? If we take a small puddle of water, you can immediately dry up the puddle of water. You can just keep taking out a little bit of water, in 1 minute you can dry up the puddle of water. Or you take a small pond of water, you can get some big machines and suck the water out of the pond. And in 1 day you can empty a whole pond by using some vacuum, some sucking machine to suck out the water. But the ocean is unlimited. No one can ever dry up an ocean. So that's why Krishna is said to be an ocean of mercy. Krishna's mercy never stops. There is no point in time that Krishna will run out of giving mercy. His mercy is unlimited. And when Krishna, so that's the mood, that is the nature of Krishna. He is very, very merciful, very, very compassionate. And when he's looking down into the material world and he's seeing all jivas suffering in ignorance, then Krishna, he feels very bad. And when Krishna sees that one of his devotees is taking up the same mood as him and is helping other jivas come back to him, and Prabhupada explains that Krishna, he becomes very, very pleased. So when Lord Kapiladev, he hears this question from Mother Devahuti, that she is genuinely concerned about the suffering of others, and for their benefit she is asking this question, Prabhupada explains, Lord Kapiladev, he felt great happiness because of his mother asking this beautiful question for the benefit of others. So if we also imbibe the same mood of developing compassion for others to helping others, then immediately we can capture Krishna's attention. One example given earlier on by Lord Kapiladev, he gives the example of the chariot of the wind. So the chariot of the wind, it carries the aroma of some beautiful flowers of roses, jasmine, and the chariot of the wind is carrying this beautiful fragrance of flowers. And this fragrance of the flowers being carried by the chariot of the wind immediately captures the sense of smell of a person, of a living entity. So just like the aroma being carried by the chariot of the wind immediately captures our attention or immediately captures our sense of smell, we'll just be doing something that immediately, when we smell some nice flowers, immediately we start saying, hey, where is that coming from? Okay, it's coming from there. So immediately our mind goes towards the fragrance of the flowers. In the same way, Lord Kapiladev explains, when a particular jiva is doing pure devotional service, when a particular jiva is imbibing these Vaishnava qualities like compassion and is generally feeling pain for other living entities, then immediately Krishna's sense of smell or Krishna's mind immediately gets captured also. Krishna immediately sees, oh, who's that living entity feeling compassion for others? Who's that jiva or who's that devotee of mine who is trying to help others? Immediately Krishna stops what he's doing and he starts focusing on that particular Vaishnava or devotee. So this is how we capture Krishna's attention. So Srila Prabhupada, he used to quote his spiritual master, saying that don't try to see Krishna, but try to do something by which Krishna will be pleased and Krishna will come and try and see you. So what is that something that we can do that will immediately capture Krishna's attention? That is when we go out and do outreach, when we go out to bring suffering souls to Krishna's lotus feet, to help others who are suffering. So this is said to be one of the qualities that immediately attracts Krishna's attention. Few weeks ago we celebrated Radhastami, and it said that Srimati Radharani's name, it comes from the word Aradhana. Aradhana means worship. So that particular devotee who excels all other devotees in worshipping Krishna, that is Srimati Radharani. So Srimati Radharani, in her worship of Krishna, she has many wonderful qualities which attracts Krishna's attention, or which very much pleases Krishna. And a list of these qualities is given in Chaitanya Charitamrita. Just like in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, we see Krishna's 64 different primary qualities. In the same way, there is a list of qualities given of Srimati Radharani that attract Krishna's attention, or that very much please Krishna. Now, out of all the qualities of Srimati Radharani, it is said that her quality of being compassionate is the quality that attracts Krishna the most, is the quality that pleases Krishna the most. So again, the same point is emphasized. Compassion for others. So out of all the qualities of Srimati Radharani, this one quality of being compassionate is the quality that Krishna likes the most, and that wins over Krishna's heart. I was hearing a description about Krishna's eyes recently. It is said that Krishna has lotus eyes. So why is it that the Shastras compare or describe Krishna as having lotus eyes? One reason is that it is said in Shastra that in this material world, the most beautiful thing is the lotus flower. So therefore the Shastras, they compare Krishna's eyes to a lotus flower, meaning Krishna's eyes are very, very beautiful. Another reason the Shastras give of why Krishna has lotus eyes is because Krishna's eyes are reddish, just like the inside of a lotus flower. So earlier on, Lord Kapila, in his instructions to Mother Devahuti, he mentions this, that Padma Garbha, he says that Padma means lotus flower, Garbha means inside or the womb of the lotus flower. Padma Garbha Aruna Lochana. Aruna means reddish, Lochana means eyes. So Krishna's eyes are reddish, just like the inside of a lotus flower. So Padma means lotus flower, Garbha means inside of the womb. So if you go into the inside of a lotus flower and you see the reddish complexion, so Krishna's eyes have that same reddish complexion. So if you take darshan of our Lord Jagannath, you can see around his eyes there is a big circle of red. So that's why Lord Jagannath is said to have lotus-like eyes, or Krishna is said to have lotus eyes. So what does that reddish tint represent? That represents the mercy or the compassion of the Supreme Lord. So it's said in any deity of Lord Jagannath, the more thicker the reddish circle is around Lord Jagannath's eyes, the more merciful, the more compassionate that particular Jagannath deity is. So our Lord Jagannath, you can see he has a very thick red circle around his eyes. So he's very, very merciful, very, very compassionate. So just like the inside of a lotus is reddish in complexion, Krishna's eyes are also said to be reddish. So that's why Krishna is said to have lotus-like eyes. And just like the lotus, you'll always be moist, because the lotus grows in the water. So the lotus will always be moist. In the same way it's given that Krishna's eyes, lotus-like eyes, are always moist. Why? Out of compassion for the fallen living entities. So Krishna, when he sees the suffering of others, he feels great compassion and tears come in Krishna's eyes, and therefore Krishna's eyes are always moist like lotus flowers. So that's another reason given of why Krishna has lotus-like eyes. So this is the nature of Krishna. When he sees others suffering, he feels great compassion, and his eyes become reddish, his eyes become moist out of compassion. Another reason given in Shastra of why Krishna has lotus-like eyes is just like the lotus flower, you'll always find it in some muddy pond. And the lotus will always start growing in some muddy area where there's some water. So just like the lotus you always find in some muddy area, in the same way Krishna's eyes, or Lord Jagannath's eyes, will always go to see who's the most fallen. Wherever there's the most fallen person, Krishna will go for them and try and deliver them first. So again, that is the mood of Lord Jagannath. That's why he's called Patita Pavana, or the savior of the fallen conditioned souls. So in Chaitanya Charitamrita, there's a beautiful description given that just like water will always flow towards the lowest point, in the same way, the Supreme Lord's mercy always will flow towards that person who is the lowest, towards that person who is the most fallen. So if we generally think that I am the most fallen, if we generally think I am the lowest, then Krishna's mercy, Lord Jagannath's mercy, Gaur-Nitai's mercy will flow towards us. But if we're proud and we think, yeah, I'm a good devotee, I'm okay. I'm not the best, but I'm pretty good. If we have some pride, little arrogance in our abilities, then Krishna will see, because just like water always flows towards the lowest point, in the same way, Shri Gaur-Nitai's mercy, Lord Jagannath's mercy, Radha Gopinath's mercy, always flows towards that person who is the lowest. So if we generally think we are fallen and we need help, then immediately we will get the mercy of the Supreme Lord. But if we're proud and we think, yeah, I'm doing good, then Krishna will think, yeah, you're doing good, so you don't need my mercy. You just continue performing your bhakti in your own endeavor. Why should I give you my special mercy? Whereas this devotee, he's generally praying and begging for mercy. He's saying, expressing his heart, explaining how he needs my help. Okay, he's generally asking for my help, so I'll give him my help instead. So this is another reason given in Shastra why Krishna's eyes are compared to lotus flowers. Like a lotus always grows in muddy area, in the same way Krishna's eyes always goes to find who's the most fallen, who's the most sinful. And Krishna will go and help that person first. Just like in the hospital, right? Different patients come, but which patient does the doctor or the nurse attend to first? The one who is suffering the most, or the one whose disease or his injury is the most serious? One who has been in a car crash, and any moment he can die, immediately the doctor and nurses will go and attend to that person first. Then they will go to other patients whose injuries or sufferings are not so severe. Same way, this is Krishna's mood. Lord Jagannath's eyes always go to that person who is struggling the most, to that person who is generally suffering the most, and he will try and help them first. So that should be our mood also, because the servant, first-class servant, is that, or he or she, who imbibes the mood of the master. That is the meaning of service, that is the meaning of being a first-class servant. Prabhupada says first-class servant means that the servant will understand the mood of the master and will do what the master wants even without being told. That is first-class service, Prabhupada used to say. So through Shastra we can learn all of these beautiful things of what is it that Krishna wants, what is it Krishna likes, what is it that is in Krishna's heart, and that way we can learn what we should do to please Krishna. So in this mood, Mother Devahuti, she asked this question, and that's why we're seeing all these verses about sufferings in mature existence. Initially we heard about the suffering at the time of death, the suffering after death in the hellish planets. And then we heard about the suffering at the time of birth, and now we're hearing about the suffering after the living entity comes out of the womb. of his mother. So at every step, at every stage, there is suffering. So when in the future, people, when they read this, they'll immediately get detachment. That, oh, okay, this place is not a nice place to be. Instead, I should go take shelter of Krishna's lotus feet. So that's what Mother Devahuti is thinking. In the future, when people read Bhagavatam, they will get this insight, they will give up material life, and they will go towards Krishna. So in that mood, she was asking this question. So that is the desired effect of these verses. It's supposed to create a healthy fear in us. So it's given, Prabhupada explains that all the anarthas we can spiritualize. Just like lust, we can spiritualize by being lusty to satisfy Krishna's senses. Instead of trying to be lusty to satisfy our own senses, we become lusty to satisfy Krishna's senses. Okay, today I'm going to sing very enthusiastically for Krishna. Today I'm going to dance very nicely for Krishna. Today I will cook some nice opulent bhoga for Krishna. In that way, that same strong desire we have in our heart, we channelize towards Krishna's sense gratification, not towards our sense gratification. Same way greed, instead of being greedy for things for ourselves, we become greedy for things for Krishna. Let us make more and more devotees for Krishna. Let us start up more and more bhakti rickshaws. Let us distribute more and more books. Let us distribute more and more plates of prasads, and that way we can cultivate spiritual greed. Same way, Prabhupada explains, fear can also be spiritualized. How do we overcome fear? By cultivating spiritual fear. What is spiritual fear? Prabhupada says, spiritual fear is that a devotee should feel afraid or be fearful of Maya, or of the illusory energy. So Prabhupada says, every devotee should always be afraid of falling into Maya. We even see this with Prahlad Maharaj. He is like a pure devotee of Lord, but in 7th canto, he himself is praying to Lord Nrsimhadev, saying, I'm afraid of materialistic association. So one time Srila Prabhupada, he was taking darshan of the deities in one particular temple, and one of the devotees, he had the guts to come up to Prabhupada and ask Prabhupada, what did you pray to Krishna for? Why did you pray to the deities? And Prabhupada looked at the devotee, and Prabhupada told the devotee that I prayed to Srimati Radharani to please protect me from Maya. So this is Prabhupada praying, He is the eternal associate of the Lord. There's no question of him ever being even slightly influenced by Maya. But to set an ideal example, to teach us by his personal example, Prabhupada is saying that I prayed to Srimati Radharani to please protect me from Maya. So every devotee, Prabhupada says, should always be afraid of Maya. And Prabhupada says this is not bad fear, this is actually healthy fear. And this fear will protect one in his bhakti. The moment we become proud and we think, yes, I'm doing good, immediately Maya will capture us actually. So in this way, these verses of Bhagavatam given by Lord Kapila Dev about how there is suffering at death, how there is suffering in the hellish planets, so on and so forth, is supposed to create a healthy fear in us. That, okay, outside of devotee association, outside of bhakti, so much suffering is out there. Okay, let me just focus, become serious, and do my bhakti nicely, for the pleasure of Guru and Gauranga. Otherwise, outside, so much suffering is awaiting me. So, this healthy fear is being evoked by these verses by Lord Kapila Dev in Bhagavatam. Now, in today's verse and purport, Lord Kapila Dev is talking about ignorance, how the living entity is overcome by avidya. Two types of avidya. Prabhupada explains firstly that the living entity, if he starts identifying himself as this material body, and the second level of avidya or ignorance is, then he starts seeing everything as mine. So the avidya of I, that I am this body, I am so and so, I am this, I am that, and then my consciousness happens, that this is mine, that is mine, this is my family, this is my house, this is my possession. This way the avidya or the ignorance grows. So how can we overcome this avidya? We all have this avidya to some degree or another. Avidya or ignorance is destroyed or dissipated by knowledge or transcendental knowledge. That's why Prabhupada emphasized so much on the distribution of his books. Because that is the way that the root cause of us being in this material world is due to avidya, or due to ignorance. So therefore Prabhupada was always repeatedly emphasizing the distribution of his books. The more books are distributed, the more the avidya, the root cause of suffering in this material world for the people out there, will be dissipated. When people open these books and they read, they will understand, who they are, what is the purpose of life, why they're suffering, so on and so forth. And this spiritual knowledge, which can overcome avidya, comes from the Guru, or the spiritual master. Therefore, worshipping the Guru is so important actually. Only through the Guru can one receive transcendental knowledge. I was just hearing from Gaur Govinda Maharaj about the glories of the lotus feet of the spiritual master. So Prabhupada says, worship of Guru means worshipping his lotus feet. And Ghanshyam was telling us that we should all have at least one picture of our Guru Maharaj, at least one picture of our spiritual master, where we can see his feet. Because Prabhupada said worshipping Guru means worshipping his feet. That's why every day in the morning we have Guru Puja. And where do we offer flowers? We offer flowers to Srila Prabhupada's lotus feet. So Guru Puja means we do puja, we worship the lotus feet of the spiritual master. So we heard about why Krishna is said to have lotus-like eyes. And Krishna is also said to have lotus feet. In the same way, the spiritual master is also said to have lotus feet. Krishna is said to have lotus feet for many reasons. One reason Prabhupada explains is like if you take darshan of our Radha Gopinath, you see Gopinath's feet is on a lotus flower. So it is said that Krishna, he never takes a step outside of Vrindavan. And the shape of Vrindavan, or Goloka Vrindavan, the topmost planet, is like that of a lotus flower. And in the world of the lotus flower is Goloka Vrindavan. So Krishna is always inside that lotus flower of Goloka Vrindavan. Either day in spiritual, or when he descends to the material world, again, he is there in Vrindavan here, Bhumi Vrindavan. Vrindavan in the material world. So Krishna, he never takes a step outside Vrindavan, and Vrindavan is like inside the world of a lotus flower. So therefore Krishna is said to have lotus feet, or one whose feet never leaves the lotus of Vrindavan. Another is, his feet is very, very beautiful to take darshan of. And lotus flower is said to be very, very beautiful. And it's very pinkish or reddish like a lotus flower. And similar reasons like we have for the eyes, similar reasons are given for Krishna's feet to be compared to a lotus flower. Now coming to the spiritual master, why is the spiritual master said to have lotus feet? One reason given, Gaur Govinda Maharaj was explaining, and that just like the lotus flower, it grows in the water, in the same way the spiritual master, he grows or he does his seva in the ocean of bhakti rasa. And just like the lotus flower, he'll be in the water, but the lotus flower won't be touched by the water. Like if you put any drops of water on the lotus, petals of lotus, it will immediately slide off and go back to the water. So the lotus flower is in the water, but not in the water simultaneously. In the same way, the spiritual master, he is present here in this material world, but at the same time, he is transcendental. He is never affected by the three modes of material nature. Another reason, Gaur Govinda Maharaj was explaining, this one is important, about why the spiritual master is said to have lotus feet, is that honeybees, they go and they search for honey. And one can get honey from different flowers. But it is said that the honey that the bees get from a lotus flower is very, very special honey. And that honey which is produced by bees from a lotus flower is called Padma Madhu. Padma means lotus, Madhu means honey. So a special type of honey is produced by the bees when they collect from a lotus flower. And according to Ayurveda, Maharaj was explaining, this Padma Madhu, or this honey being produced by the lotus flower, is used by Ayurvedic doctors to treat the disease of the eye. So any kind of eye disease, impurity in the eye, something impeding one's vision, Ayurveda prescribes one to take this honey from lotus flower and apply on the eye of the patient. And then that will cure the disease of the eye. In the same way, Maharaj explains that as devotees, if we take the honey, special honey coming from the lotus feet of our spiritual master, then that special honey will cure the disease of our eyes. And what is the disease of our eyes? It's ignorance. That's why every day in the morning we chant Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshuramitamena Tasmei Shri Guruve Namaha. We offer our respectful obeisance to our spiritual master because he opens our eyes which have been darkened by ignorance. So that's why every day we worship the lotus feet of our spiritual master. So this is said to be the key to success in spiritual life. Yasya devi parabhakti yatha devi tata guru tasyaita katitarayata prakashante mahatmana. So Prabhupada, one time, he asked his devotees, what is the most important verse in the Shastra? And devotees were saying different things. And in this particular pastime, Prabhupada says, this verse is the most important verse in the Shastra. Yasya devi parabhakti yatha devi tata guru tasyaita katitayata prakashante mahatmana. Of all the verses, Prabhupada says, in other occasions, Prabhupada said other verses, but in this particular occasion, Prabhupada said that this particular verse is the most important verse out of all the verses in Shastra. What is the meaning? For one who has strong, implicit faith in the words of the Guru and Krishna, for him, all the secrets of this Vedic literature are automatically revealed from within his heart. So the key to success in spiritual life is to take shelter, firm shelter with full faith, the words of the spiritual master. To the degree we have faith in the words of the Guru and we carry them out, to that degree we will be successful in our spiritual life. When Prabhupada was in India, devotees or some of his god brothers and others, they used to tease or criticize Prabhupada's disciples. That these Western disciples of yours, they don't know Suchi Muchi properly, they can't chant Sanskrit nicely, they do this mistake, they do that mistake. And Prabhupada, he agreed, okay, yes, they can't recite Sanskrit perfectly, okay, they might not know, Suchi Muchi, so strictly. But Prabhupada mentioned one thing. Although my disciples, they don't know this, they don't know that, although they might not be able to do this properly, although they might not be able to do that properly, they have one good quality. What is that? Whatever I ask them to do, they will do it immediately. Without even thinking, immediately they will do whatever I ask them to do. And Prabhupada says, because of this one good quality my disciples have, that one good quality nullifies whatever bad qualities you see in them. That one good quality destroys whatever other apparent anathas you might see in them. So if we can just cultivate this one good quality, our life is perfect, which is to just do whatever the spiritual master asks us to do, without hesitation. So earlier on in third canto, Lord Brahma, he was congratulating Manu on this, because he's been his duty is to create progeny, populate the universe. That's the seva given to him by his authority, which is Krishna. And recently we had a Bhadra Purnima, and in Bhagavad Mahatmya there's one nice story I like, where one time Brahma, he comes to Krishna and he says, my dear Lord, you have assigned me this seva of creation. This is such a heavy task. How will I create? This is like, I'll be entangled in Maya, and this is such a great service. I don't know how I'll be able to do it. Please, give me some solution. And then what does Krishna tell Brahma? Krishna tells Brahma, you just simply read Srimad Bhagavatam and your problem will be solved. Then Lord Shiva comes and Shiva tells Krishna that, my dear Krishna, you have given me this service of destroying the universe. This is such a heavy task. How will I destroy the universe, without empowerment? Please give me some solution. And again, Krishna, he gives the same solution. Read Srimad Bhagavatam, you will get the necessary potency to destroy the universe. Then Vishnu himself comes to Krishna. And Vishnu again prays to Radha Gopinath that please, you've given me this seva of maintaining the universe. This is such a big task. How will I do it? Then again, Radha Gopinath, they tell Vishnu the same thing. That you simply hear Srimad Bhagavatam, you will get the potency to maintain the universe. So this is the glories of Srimad Bhagavatam. Bhagavatam is being heard by Brahma, Bhagavatam is being heard by Lord Shiva, and Bhagavatam is also being heard and recited by Lord Vishnu himself. Further on, Bhagavat Mahatmya is given that Vishnu and Mother Lakshmi, they would take turns in reciting Bhagavatam. So it's given that first Vishnu, he will take Bhagavatam and he will read Bhagavatam out loud, and Mother Lakshmi Devi, she will hear. And we will take Vishnu 1 whole month to recite Bhagavatam. So for 1 month, Vishnu will be reciting Bhagavatam and Mother Lakshmi will be hearing. Then they will switch. Then Vishnu will give the book to Mother Lakshmi, and then Mother Lakshmi will recite Srimad Bhagavatam. And then Vishnu will hear. But it took Vishnu 1 month to hear It took Vishnu 1 month to recite Bhagavatam. But when it's Mother Lakshmi's turn, it takes her 3 months, triple the time to read Bhagavatam. So then the question comes up, why is Mother Lakshmi taking 3 months to read the same book? It's not like she has some different books, the same verses, same thing she's reading. Why is she taking, 3 times the time to read Bhagavatam? Why is she reading so slowly? So it's given in Bhagavat Mahatmya that when Mother Lakshmi, she reads Bhagavatam, she relishes Bhagavatam so much that she takes her time and she reads very slowly, relishing the nectar of Bhagavatam. Just like when there's some nice special prasad, we nicely, slowly honor, bit by bit. We don't just mix everything together and just gobble everything and finish 10 minutes and then go out, do some seva. No, we sit peacefully, try out all the items, take one pakora, dip it in the chutney, then take another one, try the rice, try sabji 1, then try a little bit of sabji 2, then try a little bit of sabji 3, then try a paratha, then sip a little drink in the middle, and then there'll be 4 or 5 varieties of sweets, in Vyas Puja. Try a little bit of one sweet, try a little bit of another sweet. Like that, we slowly, we take our time and we nicely relish the prasad. So that is the mood of Mother Lakshmi. When she's reading Bhagavatam, Bhagavatam is like a feast for her. There's nothing more nectar than Srimad Bhagavatam. Paramananda Pataya Prema Vakshaksharayate Sarvada Sarvasevaya Shri Krishnaya Namostute. So Srila Sanatana Goswami, he says, Paramananda Pataya. There's many different types of ananda or happiness. But the happiness or the ecstasy that one gets from studying Srimad Bhagavatam surpasses the happiness and ecstasy of all other types of happiness. So much so that even Vishnu and Mother Lakshmi are reading Srimad Bhagavatam. So when Mother Lakshmi is reading Bhagavatam, she is really, really relishing the rasa of Srimad Bhagavatam. So she takes her time and she slowly reads Bhagavatam. Srila Prabhupada, he also used to, Tamal Krishna Maharaj explains in his memories that Prabhupada used to also relish prasad very nicely. Maharaj used to say that when it would come time for Prabhupada's lunch, and then Prabhupada might be talking with some guest, doing something important, as soon as this prasad comes, Prabhupada will immediately, stop the conversation, ignore the devotees, immediately sit down in a corner of a room and start taking prasad. So usually when Prabhupada used to take prasad, Prabhupada would sit away from other devotees, and he would usually face like a wall, because it's said in Vedic culture that if while you're eating prasad, if someone else looks at your plate and thinks, oh, that looks very nice, then we'll get indigestion. So like that it's said in Vedic culture. If while we're taking prasad, someone looks on our plate and starts desiring to have that same prasad, then it can cause indigestion. So therefore Prabhupada used to always take prasad alone in a room. He would face a wall and very peacefully and slowly he would take and honor prasad. For us, we'll finish prasad quickly and go, unless there is some peace, then we'll take our time. But Tamal Krishna Maharaj says that Prabhupada used to relish prasad so much that he would spend a good 45 to 50 minutes honoring his lunch prasad. So he used to spend a good amount of time, sitting peacefully, slowly honor his prasad. So Prabhupada didn't just see it as food, he saw it as personally Krishna's mercy. This is something that Krishna has personally honored. So in that mood, that consciousness, Prabhupada used to very slowly relish prasad. And Tamal Krishna Maharaj says Prabhupada took, on average, a good 45 to 50 minutes to honor his lunch very nicely. So this is one thing we can keep in mind. When we take prasad, we should be conscious of what we're actually doing. This is not just some ordinary food, this is actually prasad. This is actually the mercy of Krishna. This has actually been touched by the lips of Krishna. Krishna's saliva is in this prasad. Like this, Mahaprabhu and his associates, they teach us from Chaitanya Charitamrita. So, coming back to Lord Brahma. Okay, yes, that's what we're talking. Lord Brahma, he has this task of creating the universe and then to populate the universe. So then he creates children to help him populate the universe. So 4 Kumaras, first they come. And then Lord Brahma asks them, okay, you're my sons, you have to do what the father says, get married, produce children, populate the universe. And what do the 4 Kumaras do? They say, sorry dad, this is not for us. And they just remain lifelong brahmachari and they go away. So Brahma, is given that Brahma, because he's involved in the mode of passion, in creating, immediately a little bit of anger arises in Brahma. And then Lord Shiva, he comes from Brahma's forehead as a result of that anger. Because Brahma, because when we get some service, we have that pressure, okay, my authority, he has given me this seva, I have to do it, And if I don't do it, if I fail, it's like it'll be hard to go back to the authority and say, Prabhu, I couldn't do this service, So Brahma, he has this pressure of service, okay, I have to do the seva of populating the universe. And he has this plan, okay, I'll create children and they will populate the universe, everything will be nice. But first he creates 4 Kumaras and they just reject him and they just go away, just stay lifelong brahmachari. So immediately, naturally, Brahma is disappointed, he gets angry. Then Lord Shiva comes. And then Brahma asks Lord Shiva that please, you help me, populate the universe, create children. Then again, Lord Shiva, he produces all sorts of ghostly creatures, and all these ghostly creatures who are like of demonic mentality, they start destroying the universe. And then Brahma says, okay, this is also not working, All these children produced by Lord Shiva, they're just tearing apart the whole universe that I have created myself. And then Brahma tells, okay, don't worry about creating more children. You just go to the forest and just do tapasya. So because of this order of Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva is always doing tapasya, meditating on Lord Sankarshan, who is Lord Shiva's Ishtadev. So then Brahma thinks, okay, this also failed. So you can imagine the pressure building up, Like you get some seva, you try plan 1, plan A doesn't work, plan A fails, then you try for plan B also fails, then the pressure is building up, Oh my God, what will happen next? I have a plan C, but how will it go? Will that also be a flop? So in this way, pressure is building up on Brahma, Then finally, he prays and Swayambhu Manu, he comes. And Swayambhu Manu, he is like the ideal son of Lord Brahma. And he offers, beautiful words to Lord Brahma saying, I am your son, whatever you ask, I will do for you. Just order me, anything you want, I will do. So with that, fully surrendered mood, he comes and submits himself to Lord Brahma. And when Brahma sees this, he is like so pleased, he is so happy. And he glorifies Swayambhu Manu, that this is an ideal son. This is an ideal disciple of the spiritual master. Ideal disciple is he, ideal son is he, who is ready to do anything and everything for the sake of his father or for the sake of the guru or the spiritual master. So Prabhupada said, this is the one good quality that all of his disciples had. Although they might not recite Sanskrit nicely, although they might not know all these little details, of Suchi Muchi, this and that, my disciples have one good quality, which is anything I ask them to do, they will do it immediately for my sake. I was hearing Tamal Krishna Maharaj's memories, and he was saying one time Prabhupada was in Rishikesh, on the banks of Ganga, and Prabhupada's house or apartment was just outside or just on the bank of Ganga. And at that time Prabhupada was a little sick, and Prabhupada heard that if one drinks some Ganges water, that will help him recover. Some doctor or someone came and recommended Prabhupada. So then Prabhupada told Tamal Krishna Maharaj, he was there in the room, Prabhupada told Tamal Krishna that, okay, now you go and fetch me a glass of Ganga water. And then Tamal Krishna Maharaj explains that back then devotees, they were like so ready, like so eager, so enthusiastic to serve Srila Prabhupada that, at a moment's notice, Tamal Krishna Maharaj at that time, immediately he took off his dhoti kurta, put a gamcha on, and ran through the room and the balcony. He opened the balcony door, jumped out from the balcony into the Ganga, went into the Ganga, fetched a glass of water or a bottle of water, and then came running up the stairs to Prabhupada's room, dripping wet, shika dripping wet, gamcha dripping wet, and gave to Prabhupada the glass or the bottle of Ganga water. And then Prabhupada took the bottle of Ganga water, Prabhupada drank the water, and then Prabhupada said, accepted. So Prabhupada, this way he had very loving dealings with his disciples. So we study the memories, of Prabhupada's disciples, Prabhupada's different biographies. We'll see how surrendered, Srila Prabhupada's disciples were. Anything Prabhupada wanted, they would just do immediately, They had like so much eagerness, thirst, enthusiasm. Ustaha nishchaya dhera. It is said the first step in spiritual life is to be enthusiastic. So all of these disciples of Srila Prabhupada, they were super enthusiastic to serve Srila Prabhupada. And whatever Prabhupada wanted, they would do immediately. And we can think of so many examples. Like one time, Prabhupada was on a train in India, going from one place to another. And along with Prabhupada, there were some disciples of him who were traveling along with Prabhupada. And there was some guest or some newcomer. And this newcomer was telling Prabhupada that I have some contacts in this particular, I forgot the exact city, where in India. But this newcomer was saying that, in this city, you should do some preaching, you should send your disciples here to do some preaching. There is a lot of good opportunities. I will help you. I will give you this support. I will give you that support. And Prabhupada heard. And then the train stopped at the station. And then Prabhupada, he looked at two of his disciples and he told them, okay, get off the train. You go here and you start a center here. Just like that, Prabhupada told them. Just on the spot. And we think, like sometimes when our authority, gives us some service on the spot, okay, give Bhagavatam class today, and you wouldn't have prepared, there's only 10 minutes, and we think, why is he giving such a, last minute service, give Bhagavatam class 10 minutes before, what kind of service is this, at least I should get 1 day notice. What about this, that Prabhupada's disciples went through? I thought that's my phone, I have the same ringtone. So this is how surrendered Prabhupada's devotees were. Just in 1 second, Prabhupada just looks at two of his disciples and says, okay, get off the train, go to the city, and start a center here. And these two devotees, they're from America. This is their first time in India. They don't know what the city is, they've never been there. And Prabhupada sent to go out alone by themselves and just start a center. They don't know where they're going to stay, they don't know where is the accommodation, how they're going to do, what they're going to do. But they got off the train and they started a center in that particular city. So if we go read Lilamrit, we'll see so many amazing stories like this of how surrendered devotees were to Srila Prabhupada. So this is like I was saying, Prabhupada said, this is the most important verse of the Shastra, which is to be fully surrendered onto the instructions of this Guru. And if we just simply have this one good quality, then that one good quality will automatically negate or destroy whatever apparent faults we have. Just by focusing on this one good quality, we will get everything else. That is the verdict of the Shastras. Okay, we'll stop here. Is there any questions or comments? Yes, sir. Okay. So Robert Prabhu is asking a question that we heard today, that Lord Jagannath is very merciful and he's always looking for the fallen souls to give his mercy. But Prabhu is asking, what about devotees who are already engaged in bhakti? does Lord Jagannath ignore them and just give mercy to the karmis out there or to those who have fallen out there? So I touched on this. I was explaining that it's not that it depends on the mood of the devotee. If a devotee thinks that he's fallen, if a devotee thinks he needs help, if a devotee is always in a helpless state, then that attracts Krishna's attention. So that's why it said that we should always be, Prabhupada says, we should always be meek and humble. If we're meek and humble, immediately Krishna will always be showering his mercy upon us. So the point I was making, that we shouldn't be proud. Because if we think that I'm doing good, I'm chanting nicely, I'm doing this right, I'm doing everything right, I don't need help, then Krishna will also think, yeah, you're doing good, yeah, you're doing nicely, okay, you don't need my help, okay, you continue practice on your own endeavor. So that's what happens for the yogis, and the jnanis. They try to cultivate spiritual life on their own endeavor. But because they don't have the mercy of Krishna, they eventually fall down, as Lord Brahma explains in 10th canto. So yes, for devotees, we also get, of course we get Krishna's mercy. As Krishna says, Yayatamam prabhajante tamstateva bhajamiham. As all surrender unto me, as all render service unto me, to that degree I will give them mercy. But before Krishna can give mercy, we have to ask for the mercy. And asking for mercy we'll only do if we're not proud. If we're proud, we'll never ask, because we think, I'm doing everything nicely. So we'll never come to the point where asking, Krishna, I need help with this, I need help with that. But if we're humble, we'll always be asking, Krishna, I need help, I need mercy in this department, that department. Then naturally Krishna's mercy will come. So His Holiness Jayapatak Maharaj, he was saying that any desire you have, you come and you ask Gaur Nitai, you ask Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they will fulfill. But you have to ask. So that is the only condition. You just have to simply come and ask. Any desire you have, Gaur Nitai will fulfill. But the condition is you have to ask. And how will we ask? We'll only ask if we're not proud. Only one who generally thinks himself a beggar, who generally thinks himself poor and helpless, only that helpless poor person will ask for help. Someone thinks he's very great, he'll never ask for help. So then he'll never get help from Krishna. So as long as devotees we maintain that humble mood, we'll always receive the grace, mercy of Krishna. And if there is pride in us, if we pray to Krishna, Krishna will remove the pride also. So there's many pastimes like Indra and Govardhan Lila. So Indra is Krishna's devotee, and Krishna, he sees, hey, in my devotee there's this anatta, pride, this is a big disease, this is not good for his spiritual health. So then, out of compassion for Indra, Krishna, he enacts the Govardhan Lila to help his devotee overcome this disease of pride. So that heavy treatment of Indra, that was actually Krishna's mercy, Krishna's compassion upon his devotee Indra, to help him overcome, that anatta which is stopping his progress. So, yes, bro. Okay, so Prabhupada is asking if we can't fulfill the order of the Guru. We get some instruction of the Guru, but we can't fulfill it. What should we do? So it is said that when we are asked to do something by authority or a Guru, we should make an endeavor from our side to fulfill that order. And sometimes to become successful or to fully fulfill that order might not happen immediately. Might happen after 1 year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, 40 years later. But in our mind, we should be constantly meditating on that order of the Guru. Like you take Srila Prabhupada. He met his spiritual master, in his mid-20s, and he got the order that you preach Krishna consciousness in the Western world, in the English language. But when did Prabhupada fulfill that order? After 40 years later, 30, 40 years later only, Srila Prabhupada went to the West and actually fulfilled that instruction. But the important point is, Prabhupada mentions that order of his Guru he never forgot. And at every moment he was constantly meditating on that particular order instruction. So Prabhupada says this is the duty of the disciple. Any order instruction he gets, he should always remember, never forget, and he should constantly meditate on that particular instruction or the order of the Guru. And constantly meditate how to fulfill that order. Sometimes one can fulfill the order immediately, sometimes it will take time to fulfill the order. But Prabhupada says, one needs to have that anxiety in his mind. Okay, my Guru has asked me to do this, how do I do this? He's asked me to do this, he's asked me to do this. Like this, this spiritual anxiety must always be running in the mind of the disciple. So that's what we see with the example of Srila Prabhupada. He got the instruction when he was in mid-20s. Only 30, 40 years later did he actually fully fulfill the instruction of his Guru Maharaj. But during those 30, 40 years, Prabhupada was constantly meditating on the instruction. He was constantly working towards that goal of fulfilling that order. So sometimes the order might be very, very big, something that we can't fulfill immediately, but we should always meditate on the instruction and make steps towards reaching that goal. And Prabhupada says, just that spiritual anxiety of, I have to do this, I have to do this. My Guru Maharaj has asked me to do this, therefore I have to do this, I have to do this. That anxiety will liberate us. So that anxiety itself is liberation. Okay? And obviously, if while we're trying to fulfill a particular order, if we're experiencing some difficulties, we can consult our spiritual master that, my dear Guru Maharaj, you asked me to do this seva, and these are the things I have done so far to fulfill this order. These are the obstacles I am facing. Can you please, give me some suggestions of how I can overcome these obstacles to fulfill your desire? So we can be open with our spiritual master also. The main thing is we should always meditate on the order, on the instruction. And sometimes it will be a big instruction which we can't fulfill immediately. But we should never forget the instruction and always meditate. Okay, we'll stop here. Nantra Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Jaguru Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Jai Gaur Premanande.